Captain Teo stood in the observation booth high above the training arena. His skin was a pale blue color, and his four eyes watched everything at once. He was a Ziphian, a warrior from a species that had conquered more worlds than most civilizations even knew existed. His people had been fighting in space for thousands of years. They had won every single war they ever fought. Today was supposed to be just another training day. Nothing special, nothing important. Just another chance to watch a weak species fail against one of their powerful machines. Captain Teo had seen this same thing happen many times before. He always knew how it would end. Marine Jin Ho sat on the metal bench in the waiting area. He was a human from Earth, a small planet that had been defeated by the Ziphian coalition only 2 years ago. Earth was not very strong. Earth had old weapons and old technology. Earth did not stand a chance against the coalition's advanced machines and ships. But the coalition had decided to take some humans as soldiers. They wanted to train them. They wanted to see if humans could be useful in their military. Captain Teo thought this was a waste of time. Humans were weak. Humans were slow. Humans could not even see in ultraviolet light like many other species could. Jinho did not care what the Ziphians thought about him. He sat on the bench and held his music player in his hand. It was a small device that he kept with him always. The device played songs and music from Earth. Earth music was very different from the music of other worlds. It was loud and fast and sometimes sad. But it helped Jinho think. It helped him feel ready. He pressed the buttons on his music player and looked at the list of songs. There were hundreds of them. Some were old songs from Earth history. Some were new songs he had downloaded when he was still on his home planet. He had a song for every feeling. He had a song for when he felt strong. He had a song for when he felt afraid. And he had a song for when he needed to focus and get ready for something important. Jinho was not from the military on Earth. He had been a construction worker before the Ziphians came. He had worked on buildings. But when the coalition took over Earth, many humans were needed to work or to fight. Jinho was young and strong, so they chose him to train as a soldier. The training had been very hard. The Ziphian trainers wanted him to learn how to fight and how to follow orders. They put him in rooms with obstacles. They made him run very fast. They taught him how to use guns and weapons that he had never seen before. Every day was harder than the day before. But something strange had happened during his training. Jinho had discovered that he was good at fighting. His body moved fast, even when his brain did not tell it to move. It was like his body understood danger before his mind could think about it. When something came at him fast, he could get away from it. When someone attacked him, he could defend himself without even trying. The trainers had been surprised. They did not expect a human to be good at this. They had expected him to be slow and weak. But Jinho was neither. He was fast, and he was strong. And most important, he did not give up. Captain Teo watched from above. He could see Jinho on the screen. The human was still playing with his music device. He was not even paying attention to what was happening around him. This made the captain angry. The human should be nervous. The human should be preparing himself. The human should be taking this training seriously. "The human is ready?" Captain Teo asked the operator next to him. "Yes, Captain. He has completed all the basic training exercises. His scores are acceptable for a member of his species," the operator replied. The operator was a robot, a machine that had no feelings and no opinions. It just stated facts. "Acceptable?" Captain Teo said. His voice sounded angry. "Acceptable means that he is barely good enough. Acceptable means that he is weak compared to the soldiers I have trained before. The human Jinho scores higher than 90% of the last species we trained," the operator said. But Captain Teo did not care about this fact. He did not want to hear facts about how good humans might be. He wanted to prove that humans were weak. Down in the training arena, Jinho finally put his music player away. A loud voice came from speakers in the walls. The voice told him to stand up and get ready. The training was about to begin. Jinho stood up and stretched his arms. He was 26 years old. He was tall for a human, about 185 meters. He had dark hair and dark eyes. He looked tired because he had been training for many months, but his eyes were clear and focused. The training arena was a big room. The floor was made of a special material that was very hard. The walls were metal. There were no windows. There was nothing to hide behind. The arena was empty except for a big door on one side of the room. The voice explained the training exercise. Today, Jin-Ho would fight against a Krell war beast. This was one of the most dangerous creatures in all of space. The Krell were monsters that had been created in laboratories. They were not natural creatures. They had been designed to be perfect killing machines. A Krell war beast was very big and very strong. It was 9 feet tall. It had 4 arms, each one with sharp claws. It had thick skin that was almost like metal. It did not feel pain like other creatures did. It did not get tired. It did not stop fighting until it won or died. "Estimated combat time, 15 minutes, the voice said. "This is a training exercise. The creature will not kill you, but it will hurt you if you are not careful." Captain Teo leaned forward in the observation booth. He was sure he would see a human soldier die today. Or at least, he would see a human soldier get hurt very badly. Either way, it would prove that humans were not strong enough to be part of the Ziphian coalition military. But Jin-Ho did not look worried. He had faced difficult things before. He had survived the invasion of Earth. He had survived months of hard training. He was ready for whatever came next. The big door on the far side of the arena opened, and the Krell war beast walked through. It was ugly and terrible to look at. Its skin was dark and wet. Its claws were as long as human fingers. Its eyes were empty and black. It did not have feelings. It had only the desire to fight and to win. The creature took one step into the arena, then it took another step. The ground shook with each step it took. The creature was heavy. The creature was powerful. Jin-Ho took a deep breath. He put one earphone back in his ear. He chose a song from his music player. The song was fast and loud. The song was about fighting. The song was about never giving up. "I am ready," Jin-Ho said quietly. But his voice was strong and clear. And then everything changed very quickly. The Krell war beast saw Jin-Ho standing in the middle of the empty arena. It had been created to fight. It had been trained to kill. Every part of its body was made for violence and destruction. When it saw Jin-Ho, something in its brain told it to attack. The creature moved forward. At first, it walked slowly. Then it walked faster. Then it began to run. Captain Teo watched on the screen in the observation booth. He had calculated how long it would take the Krell to reach Jin-Ho. The numbers were clear. The human had maybe 2 seconds. 2 seconds to move away or defend himself. The Krell opened its mouth wide. It was a horrible mouth, full of sharp teeth. It made a loud sound that was supposed to scare its enemies. The sound was very loud. It echoed across the arena. But Jin-Ho did not run away in fear. He did not scream. He did not freeze. Instead, he moved. His body moved to the left. It was not a big movement. It was not a jump or a dive. It was just a small step to the side, but it was exactly the right movement at exactly the right time. The Krell rushed past him where he had been standing just 1 second before. The creature's body was so big that it could not turn around quickly. It had to slow down. It had to prepare to attack again. The human moved at 0.04 seconds, the operator in the observation booth said. That is faster than expected for his species. Captain Teo said nothing. He just watched. Maybe it was just luck. Maybe it was just chance that the human got out of the way. The real test would come in the next seconds. The Krell turned around. Now it was angry. It wanted to grab the human. It wanted to hurt him. The creature used all of its 4 arms. 2 arms reached out in front of it, trying to grab Jin-Ho. The other 2 arms tried to grab him from different directions. Jin-Ho saw the 4 arms coming at him. A normal human would have been confused. A normal human would not have known which way to move, but Jin-Ho's body understood what to do without his brain having to think about it. He jumped up and backward. The four arms passed underneath him. They missed him completely. Then he came down and moved forward, running straight toward the creature instead of running away from it. This was not what the Krell expected. The creature had been designed to chase enemies that ran away. It did not know how to fight an enemy that came toward it. For just a moment, the creature seemed confused. Jin-Ho reached the creature's body. He was so small compared to the Krell. He was like a human being fighting against a mountain. But his hands moved very fast. His feet moved very fast. He was everywhere at once, and the creature could not catch him. In the observation booth, Captain Teo's skin began to change color. When a Ziphian got angry or upset, his skin would change. His pale blue color was starting to show red marks. The captain was beginning to feel worried. "Increase the difficulty," he ordered. "The creature should use maximum force." "Captain, we have already set the creature to maximum force," the operator said. "Then reset the computer. There must be a problem with the machine." "Captain, there is no problem with the machine. The Krell is working perfectly." But the Krell was not winning. The creature was getting hurt. One of its four arms was not moving correctly anymore. The human had done something to it. The human had broken something inside the creature's arm. Jin-Ho was still moving. He was still fighting. He was still listening to his music. The song was reaching the middle part, where the drums got very loud and very fast. That was when Jin-Ho moved the fastest. He jumped on the creature's back. The Krell tried to reach him with its arms, but it could not bend its body in the right way. The creature tried to throw him off, but Jin-Ho held on. His hands found a soft place on the creature's neck. It was the place where the creature's hard skin was thinner. The human pushed down very hard. He was using all of his strength. The Krell made a horrible sound. It was a sound of pain. It was a sound of fear. 4 seconds had passed since the fight began. In the observation booth, the time counter showed 4.1 seconds. This was not the 15 minutes that the system had estimated. This was not even close to 15 minutes. The Krell fell to its knees. It was defeated. It was hurt. It was tired. It stopped fighting and just knelt on the ground, unable to move anymore. Jin-Ho jumped down from the creature's back. He was breathing hard. His body was covered in sweat, but he was not hurt badly. He was still alive. He was still moving. The computer made an announcement. "Combat terminated. The creature is defeated. Medical units are being sent to treat the war beast." Captain Teo stood up from his seat. His skin was now bright red with anger and shock. He could not believe what he had just seen. He could not understand how a human had defeated a Krell war beast in only 4 seconds. "What just happened?" he demanded. The operator was also shocked. "I do not have an explanation, Captain. The Krell war beast has not been defeated in training exercises for the past 200 sessions. This is the first time." Down in the arena, Jin-Ho finally took the earphone out of his ear. He was looking up at the observation booth, waiting to see what would happen next. He knew he had done something unusual. He knew that this was not what the Ziphians had expected. He was right. Nothing like this had ever happened before. Medical drones entered the arena. These were small flying machines designed to help hurt creatures. They went to the Krell and started to take care of its wounds. The creature was still alive, but it was badly hurt. It would need weeks to heal from the injuries that Jin-Ho had caused. Captain Teo was silent. His 4 eyes stared at the image of Jin-Ho on the screen. He was trying to understand. He was trying to figure out what had gone wrong. But nothing had gone wrong. The Krell war beast had done exactly what it was supposed to do. The Krell had fought with all of its strength and all of its power, and it had still lost to a human. This was impossible, and yet it had happened. "Bring the human to my office," Captain Teo said. His voice was cold and hard. "I want to speak with him." As Jin-Ho walked out of the arena, he did not know that his 4 seconds of fighting had changed everything. He did not know that he had just done something that would make the entire Ziphian coalition rethink everything they believed about humans. He just knew that the training was over, and he had won. Behind him, medical drones continued to care for the Krell. The creature would survive, but it would never be quite the same again. Something inside it had broken, not just in its body, but in its mind. A human had beaten it. A weak human from a weak planet had defeated a creature that was supposed to be perfect. And in the observation booth, Captain Teo was beginning to realize that his understanding of the human species had been completely wrong all along. Captain Teo's office was very large and very cold. The walls were made of metal and glass. The view from the windows showed the stars and the ships of the Ziphian coalition floating in space. Everything in the office was designed to show power and control. Everything was designed to make visitors feel small and unimportant. Jin-Ho sat in a chair across from the captain's desk. He was still breathing hard from the fight. His clothes were torn and dirty. There were marks on his skin from where the Krell had tried to grab him, but his face was calm. His eyes were clear and focused. Captain Teo walked around his desk and sat in a much bigger chair. He looked at Jin-Ho for a long time without speaking. His 4 eyes studied the human carefully. He was trying to understand something that his brain could not make sense of. "How old are you, human?" the captain finally asked. "I am 26 years old," Jin-Ho said. His voice was respectful but not afraid. 26 years, the captain said slowly. "And in those 26 years, you have learned to fight like that?" "I did not learn to fight," Jin-Ho said. He was being honest. "Humans have been fighting each other for thousands of years. It is in our nature. It is in our blood." Captain Teo did not understand this answer. His species, the Ziphians, did not have blood like humans did. They did not evolve through fighting with each other. They had been a peaceful species once. Then they became advanced and strong. Now they conquered other worlds because they wanted to grow their empire. "Tell me about Earth," the captain said. "Tell me about where you come from." Jin-Ho thought about this question. He thought about his home planet. He thought about all the humans who lived there and all the humans who had come before him. "Earth is a world where life has always been dangerous," Jin-Ho began. "For millions of years, humans had to fight to survive. We had to fight animals that wanted to eat us. We had to fight each other for food and for land. We had to fight against storms and against hunger. Everything on Earth tried to kill us or make us weaker. And so humans became violent?" the captain asked. "No," Jin-Ho said. "Humans learned to understand their bodies. Humans learned to move in ways that helped them survive. Our bodies learned to react faster than our brains could think. When something dangerous came near us, our bodies would move away before we even knew what the danger was." Captain Teo listened. He was beginning to understand something about humans that was not in the database. The database was full of information, but it was not complete. The database did not understand what it meant to be human. "And the music?" the captain asked. He had noticed that Jin-Ho was listening to music during the fight. "Why is music important to your species?" Jin-Ho smiled a little bit. This was a good question. "On Earth, humans have used music for thousands of years. Music helps us think. Music helps us feel strong. Music helps us work together. Soldiers on Earth have used music to march into battle. Workers have used music to help them work. Children have used music to learn things faster." "Music helps you fight better?" the captain asked. "Yes," Jin-Ho said. "When I hear music with a fast beat, my body moves faster. When I hear music that sounds powerful, I feel more brave. When I hear music that sounds sad, I remember why I fight. Music is like a key that opens up the power that is already inside our bodies." Captain Teo walked over to the window. He looked out at the stars. He was thinking about what Jin-Ho had told him. He was thinking about all the humans on all the colonies and all the Ziphian bases. He was thinking about what would happen if all of those humans had this same power. "I need to know something," the captain said without turning around. "When you fought the Krell, were you trying to win?" "Yes," Jin-Ho said. "Humans always try to win. Humans do not like to lose. We do not like to fail." "But you were not worried that you might die?" "I was," Jin-Ho admitted. "I was very worried. But I also knew that I could not stop trying. If I stopped, then the Krell would kill me. So I had to keep fighting." The captain turned back to look at the human. "That is the difference," he said quietly. "The Krell was created to be perfect. It was created with no fear and no doubt. But it was also created with no flexibility. It fights in the way it was designed to fight. It cannot learn. It cannot adapt." "Humans adapt," Jin-Ho said. "Yes," the captain agreed. "Humans adapt. You fight in ways that machines cannot predict. You use your music to make your bodies work in ways that are not logical but are very effective." There was silence in the office for a moment. The captain was thinking about something very serious. He was thinking about his own future and the future of the entire Ziphian coalition. "There will be more training exercises," the captain said. "Harder exercises, different enemies, different challenges. Are you ready for that?" "Yes," Jin-Ho said without hesitation. "Other humans will be tested too," the captain continued. "We need to understand if you are special or if all humans are like this." "You will find that humans are all different," Jin-Ho said. "We all have different strengths and different weaknesses, but we all have something that machines do not have. We all have the ability to survive when things seem impossible." Captain Teo felt something strange in his chest. It was a feeling that he had not felt in many years. It was a feeling of fear mixed with hope. He was beginning to realize that the Ziphian coalition had made a big mistake when they conquered Earth. They had thought Earth was weak and unimportant. But they had been wrong. They had imprisoned a species that could teach them how to fight in new ways. They had taken soldiers that could become stronger and better than any machine. They had found something valuable, and they had not even realized it. "You may go," the captain said. "Rest. Recover from your injuries. There will be another training exercise in 2 days." Jin-Ho stood up from his chair. He was about to walk toward the door when the captain called to him. "Jin-Ho," the captain said, "that song you were listening to during the fight, what was the name of that song?" Jin-Ho thought for a moment. "It is called Never Stop Fighting. It is an old Earth song. Very old. But humans still love it because it reminds us that we can do anything if we keep trying." "Play it for me," the captain said. Jin-Ho took out his music player. He set it so the song would play through the office speakers. The song started to play. It was loud and fast and powerful. The drums were very heavy. The music was very intense. And as Captain Teo listened to the human song, he understood that everything was about to change. The Ziphian coalition had believed that conquest was about taking land and resources, but they had not understood that true power came from understanding your enemy and learning from them. They were about to learn a very important lesson, and humans would be the ones to teach it to them. In the days after Jin-Ho's incredible victory, something strange began to happen throughout the Ziphian coalition. News spread very quickly. Soldiers were talking about the human who had defeated the Krell war beast in only 4 seconds. Officers were discussing what this meant for the coalition's future. Scientists were asking questions about human biology and human fighting skills. Captain Teo had ordered more training exercises with human soldiers. He wanted to know if Jin-Ho was special or if all humans had this hidden power. The coalition had thousands of humans now, spread across many different bases and colonies. It was time to find out what they could really do. The first human after Jin Ho was a woman named Mi Sun. She was from Seoul, a large city on Earth. She was smaller than Jin Ho, but she was very fast and very smart. The test that she faced was different from Jin Ho's test. She was put in a room with a tactical synth unit. This was a machine made of metal and circuits. It was smaller than the Krell, but much faster and much more intelligent. The tactical synth was designed to learn. It was designed to adapt. The more it fought an enemy, the better it could predict what the enemy would do next. It had defeated many different species in training. No one had ever beaten it. But Mi-sun did something that was not expected. Instead of fighting the machine directly, she noticed something about the room. She saw how the machine moved. She understood the patterns of its attacks, and then she did something very clever. She ran toward the wall. The tactical synth followed her as it was programmed to do. But just before she hit the wall, Mi-sun jumped and used the wall to push herself forward. She moved in a direction that the machine had not predicted. She moved toward the machine's power source, which was located at the back of its body. It took her only 8 seconds to reach the power source and destroy it. The machine fell to the ground, no longer moving. The Ziphian officers who were watching did not understand how this had happened. The machine had been nearly perfect. But the human had used something that machines do not have. She had used creativity. She had thought of a solution that was not in her training. She had understood the environment in a way that the machine could not. Then came Jae-won, another human from Earth. He was given a weapon he had never seen before and put in an arena with an armored assault platform. This was one of the biggest combat machines in the Ziphian military. It had heavy weapons and thick armor. It was supposed to be nearly impossible to defeat. But Jae-won was very clever. He looked at the weapon in his hands. He looked at the assault platform. He started to smile. Because even though the weapon was strange and new, Jae-won understood how all weapons worked. He understood physics. He understood how to think about a problem and find a solution. He used the weapon in ways that it was not supposed to be used. He damaged the machine's legs. He damaged its armor. And then he found a way to get inside the machine where the pilot was sitting. He defeated the pilot without the machine even firing back a single time. 12 seconds. That was how long it took. In the Coalition Command Center, the highest officers of the Ziphian military were gathering in an emergency meeting. They had to talk about what was happening. They had to understand it. They had to figure out what to do about it. "We have tested 53 human soldiers," one officer reported. 47 of them have defeated the combat machines we put them against. 3 of them matched the machines in combat but did not defeat them. 6 of them were defeated or seriously hurt. "What is the average time for victory?" another officer asked. 13 seconds, the first officer said. There was silence in the room. 13 seconds was not a long time. In 13 seconds, a human could barely run across a room, but in 13 seconds, a human could defeat a machine that the Coalition had spent millions of resources building and programming. "How is this possible?" one of the younger officers asked. "These are not our best soldiers. These are not specially trained warriors. These are ordinary humans who have been with us for only a few months." General Lee Su stood up from her seat. She was a human who had already been promoted to a high rank in the Coalition military. She had proven herself to be a very smart commander. The other officers listened when she spoke, even though she was human and they were not. "The answer is simple," General Lee Su said. "Humans are not machines. Humans are not like other species that you have trained before. Humans are built to survive in impossible situations. We have spent millions of years fighting and learning and adapting. It is not in our DNA. It is not in our technology. It is just who we are." "But we can calculate our military machines," one officer said. "We can predict what they will do. We cannot calculate humans. We cannot predict them." "Exactly," General Lee Su said. That is the weakness and the strength of humans. We are not perfect. We are not logical all the time. But we are very good at solving problems that have no clear answer. We are very good at doing things that should not be possible. Captain Teo listened to this conversation. He was beginning to understand something very important. The Ziphian coalition had built their military based on logic and perfection. They made perfect machines. They had perfect plans. They expected everything to work exactly the way they had calculated it would work. But humans did not follow perfect plans. Humans did what needed to be done, even if it was strange or unusual. Humans used their music and their creativity and their stubborn determination to win in ways that machines could never understand. "We need to make a decision," Admiral Yarik said. He was the highest leader of the entire coalition military. Everyone listened when he spoke. "Do we see these humans as a threat, or do we see them as an opportunity?" The room was silent. Every officer was thinking about this question. "If they are a threat, we should remove them," one officer said. "If they are an opportunity, we should train them and use them," another officer said. Admiral Yarik looked at General Li Su. "What do you think, General? You are human. What would your species do in this situation?" General Li Su smiled a little bit. "Humans would use this opportunity," she said. "We would take the humans from other worlds and teach them about the coalition. We would use their fighting skills, we would learn from their strange ways of thinking, and we would become stronger because of it." Admiral Yarik nodded slowly. "Then that is what we will do," he said. "We will not treat humans as conquered people. We will treat them as valuable soldiers. We will train them, we will teach them, and we will learn from them." Outside the meeting room, news was already spreading. More humans would be chosen for training. More humans would be tested. More humans would have the chance to fight and to prove that their species was more than what the coalition had originally thought. Jinho was in his room when he heard the news. He picked up his music player and pressed play. The song "Never Stop Fighting" began to play again. And as he listened, he knew that everything had changed. Humans were not prisoners anymore. Humans were soldiers. Humans were valuable. The training had ended in only 6 seconds, but it had lasted long enough to change the entire future of the Ziphian coalition. Months passed. The coalition military continued to test and train human soldiers. Every test showed the same thing. Humans were different. Humans were valuable. Humans could do things that other species could not do. More humans were brought to the training centers. Young humans, old humans, men and women, all of them were tested. And nearly all of them showed special abilities in combat and in solving difficult problems. Commander Hai-In was a woman from a country called Korea on Earth. She had been a teacher before the coalition came, but now she was a military commander. She led a team of human soldiers and alien soldiers together. The humans and aliens did not always understand each other, but they worked together because they had to. Lieutenant Dae-sung was a young man from the same country. He was very good at using weapons and at understanding military strategy. He had been in only 3 battles, but he had already earned 2 medals for bravery. Specialist Kyung-ah was a woman who had studied science on Earth. She had become an engineer in the coalition military. She could look at broken machines and fix them in ways that other engineers could not. Her ideas were strange, but they always worked. The humans were spreading through the coalition military. They were not taking over positions that belonged to other species. They were earning those positions through hard work and skill. Other species began to respect them because they knew the humans could fight and could think in ways that were very difficult. But not everyone was happy about this change. Some Ziphian officers did not like that humans were becoming powerful. Some leaders from other alien species thought that humans were becoming too important. There were quiet meetings where officers whispered about whether humans should be allowed to have so much power. Admiral Yarik called for a council meeting. This was a very important meeting with the highest leaders from all the species that belonged to the coalition. The meeting was held in the Great Hall, which was the biggest and most important room in the entire coalition. All the leaders were there. There were Ziphians and Chronovians and Sethians and many other species. They sat around a large table. Admiral Yarik stood at the head of the table. "We are here to discuss the future of human soldiers in our military," the admiral said. "Some of you believe that humans are becoming too powerful. Some of you believe that humans are a threat to the coalition. Some of you believe that humans should be limited in the positions they can hold. Is this correct?" Several leaders nodded. One of them stood up. He was a Chronovian, a species with very hard skin and very strong arms. "Humans are unpredictable," the Chronovian leader said. "They do not follow the rules like other species. They create art and music instead of studying science. They tell jokes when they should be serious. They are not what we want in a military." Another leader stood up. She was a Sethian, a species that could see in the dark and had excellent night vision. "Humans fight in ways that are not logical," she said. "They take risks that our calculations show will fail, but then they succeed. This is not safe. This is not how a military should work." Admiral Yarik listened to all the complaints. Then he held up his hand. "I want to show you something," he said. "I want to show you the records from the last 100 battles where human soldiers fought alongside other coalition soldiers." The lights in the Great Hall dimmed. A screen appeared on the wall. It showed video recordings of battles. It showed humans working with aliens, fighting enemies together, protecting each other. In one battle, a human named Teo was surrounded by enemies. 3 alien soldiers from different species moved to help him. They stood back to back together, and they fought until all the enemies were defeated. They worked together perfectly, even though they were very different. In another battle, a Sethian and a human worked together. The Sethian could see in the darkness. The human had good weapons. The human and the Sethian defeated an enemy base together. The Sethian would not have succeeded without the human's creativity. The human would not have succeeded without the Sethian's night vision. Video after video showed the same thing. Humans and aliens working together. Humans and aliens learning from each other. Humans and aliens becoming stronger because they were different. When the video finished, the lights came back on. "This is why humans are valuable," Admiral Yarik said. "Humans are not like us. Humans do not think like us. Humans do not fight like us. But that is exactly why we need them. They see things we do not see. They understand things we do not understand. They can do things that we cannot do." "But they could become a threat," one leader said. "Yes," Admiral Yarik agreed. "Any species is a potential threat if they become too powerful. But the answer is not to limit humans. The answer is to treat them with respect. The answer is to give them a place in our society. The answer is to let them be part of the coalition." General Li Su stood up. "I am human," she said. "I fight for the coalition. I fight for all the species in this military. I have learned from aliens. I have worked with aliens. I have become stronger because of aliens. And I believe that other humans want the same thing. We want to be part of something bigger than ourselves." Admiral Yarik nodded. "The Council is making a decision today," he said. "Humans will be allowed to hold any position in the coalition military. Humans will be treated as equal to any other species. Humans will be given the same respect and the same opportunities as any other soldier." The leaders did not all agree. Some of them left the meeting angry. But they did not speak against the admiral. The decision had been made. News of this decision spread quickly through the coalition. Humans on all the bases and all the colonies heard about it. They were no longer second-class soldiers. They were now full members of the coalition military. Jin Ho was sitting in his room when he heard the news. He closed his eyes and smiled. He thought about Earth, his home planet that was far away. He thought about all the humans who had died when the coalition invaded. He thought about how those humans had not died for nothing. Their struggle had taught the Coalition that humans were valuable. He picked up his music player and chose a song called Home. It was a sad song, but it was also a beautiful song. It made humans remember their home planets and the people they loved. As he listened to this song, Jin-Ho felt closer to Earth even though he was far away in space. The training had ended in 6 seconds. But the real journey for humanity had just begun. Humans would no longer be prisoners. Humans would no longer be second-class soldiers. Humans would be partners. Humans would be teachers. Humans would be leaders. And they would do all of these things while listening to music that reminded them of who they were.